friends, Heron dancers, to this, the first Heron Dance Creativity as a Way of Life video. And I want to start with a short film clip that contains some color pencil drawings done by a friend of mine, Frederick Back, now passed. But he was an important figure in the early days of Heron Dance. In fact, he was the first profile in the first issue 30 years ago. And a friend of mine had come across a video that he had made, The Man Who Planted Trees, for which he received an Oscar. And the film kind of played a role, as he did, as a inspiration in Heron Dance, and he became a friend and a financial supporter of Heron Dance. But anyway, in fact, excuse me, I just walked across my room here. Here's one of many notes he sent me back in the day. It's the date, it doesn't show a date, but 30 years ago or 25 years ago. And the drawing is that he used to do a lot of free work for Greenpeace and similar PETA. He was a very strict vegetarian, a lover of life. And in any event, we're just going to start with a short film clip. It has a brief sequence of a couple loons, which are truly beautiful, very, very simple, but loons mean a lot to me. I for 22 years, the last week of September, of course, that's where we are on the calendar right now, I would paddle mostly alone, but sometimes friends would come with me in Algonquin Park in Canada, beautiful, huge wilderness, lots and lots of moose, lots of bears, even a few wolf packs. And one morning I was, I think I'll wait for that. I'll tell you that story after you see the sequence, and because I'm going to do an abstract painting or two inspired by my love of wilderness and the loons that are often prevalent in remote lakes. And yeah, but first let's just look at this sequence.
In the beginning, it lay sleeping. In the beginning, there was ice, a gigantic mantle of pure ice awaiting the coming of the Earth's spring. Then, cataracts of water gushing forth from the glaciers, rolling towards the ocean, gouging in the northerly soil of the Americas, the bed of a colossal river, and the greatest estuary on the planet. Freshwater whirlpools collide with the vast salt waters flowing from the Arctic. Overwhelming. And then, the miracle. Life explodes, microscopic and luxuriant. Hosts of fish, mammals, and birds. Season after season, tide after tide, the harvest is renewed. Drawn by the inexhaustible wealth of these waters, creation's bravest and best gather to feed and to bond.
Okay, so I just want to talk for a quick minute about loons and my work of painting loons. I I recently did a project or a commission for a supporter of a local, not that local, but regional loon conservation organization. And I really struggled with it because my imagination and my work lately has largely revolved around trying to develop abstract art techniques that capture the spirit of something as opposed to the actual physical form of it. And I'm really trying to just create images that are interesting and uh, and that capture the spirit of something. Even though when you look at it, you might not even be able to tell what it is I had in mind, what I was painting. But you know, loons represent to me quiet mornings on backcountry lakes, wilderness lakes, where there's no roads and where you have to portage in order to get at them. And they are such a you know, they embody for me dignity and loneliness in a way, and solitude and beauty and wildness. And so I'll just share with you very quickly some loon paintings I've done, including the one that I did for the Loon Conservation Organization. And then I'll do some painting, and I'll talk a little about the use of journaling in creative work. Okay, so I'll share my screen here. So this is a painting I did 20 years ago, probably. It is one of my favorites. It didn't sell that well, but it's loose, relaxed. And this is the kind of painting I could only do after painting for 2 or 3 hours a day for a week or so. If I don't paint every day, I can't do paintings like this. I can do realistic paintings, but not loose, relaxed paintings like this one. Here's another one. This one less relaxed, but similar. I mean, not similar, but you know, I think an interesting, worthwhile painting. This is a rough sketch I did for the most popular painting of loons I've ever done. I like it. It's obviously rough, but it does, I think, capture the moment. This is the most successful loon painting I've ever done. I did this again on commission. I don't do commissions anymore, but I did this for a young couple that, as a wedding present, the husband wanted to buy a painting commemorating his marriage. This is a rough sketch I did for the loon conservation group in preparation for the loon conservation group. I like it. I think it does capture something about loons. And this is the painting that I did for them. I probably do this painting, which I consider to be a good painting. It's not one of my best, but I probably did 100 different paintings, and this was the best of the lot. And the reason, again, was my imagination was captivated by abstract art, and yet I was trying to paint something that they could use, for instance, perhaps even on a T-shirt or something like that. And I did tell them, feel free to use this painting if you'd rather on T-shirts or for any purpose that's helpful to you. But anyway, yeah. So, you know, I was diagnosed with terminal cancer 30 years ago. A couple of years before I started Heron Dance, and I spent a lot of time getting experimental chemotherapy. Um, and one of the things I would do while getting this poison pumped into me was think of balloons. I would put myself back on a particular lake, Canoe Lake, Algonquin Park, um, and I had gotten up early. The sun was just starting to come up. I built a fire and cooked tea, and I was sitting watching these two loons move in and out of the mist, and every so often call, but they would disappear into the mist and then emerge out of it again, and they floated back and forth in front of me, and it was such a beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced in my life. And I would try to go back when I was getting chemotherapy, back to that experience and think about those loons, because it was so peaceful and it was such a positive, um, uplifting, and healing thought. I could almost put myself in a trance, in a meditative trance, thinking about them.
Okay, so I'm going to do some painting, and I'm going to speed through it because it condenses 2 or 3 hours of painting down. I think it'd be a little tedious to put it all on there at normal speed. So I just want to show you, these are 3 paintings, and they're not great paintings. They're not bad. They're just paintings that I threw together to show you painting for an art journal, where you're not doing it to sell, you're not doing it to show anybody, you're not doing it for anything other than self-exploration, self-discovery, relaxing with yourself, reaching for images that are right on the borderline of your imagination, and just seeing what turns up. It is a rough sketch, rough attempt at, as I said, self-discovery. Okay, so I'm going to start an experimental painting here, kind of loosely inspired by loons in early morning mist, but the chances are it will end up being about something completely different. I'll look for a pattern to emerge in the interaction of water. In this first one, it'll be water, acrylic ink, and paper. I'm using a paper that's specially designed for acrylic ink. So, and you notice there's already some blobs and ink stains on it. That's because I have a failed painting on the other side, and this morning I want to start out with something that just to get warmed up, although it could end up being a worthwhile painting, but I just want to loosen up and relax and make some progress here. And I have on other boards, 3 other boards, fresh paper that I'll move on to as this is drying. So I think what I'll start off with is some Payne's Gray, and I'm using a golden fluid acrylic ink here. I think I'll turn on some music in the background. Usually when I paint, I listen to music. This is Chris Haugen, Haugen on Spotify. Turn it up a little. Hopefully that's not too loud. If it is, I'll turn it down. But it's kind of relaxing, contemplative music. He plays a variety of different styles. I first heard him in connection with a blues kind of acoustic that I really liked. and that I'll use as part of an introduction to a future, I think I will turn it down a little, future video. But anyway, okay, so what I'm going to just do is dump a little Payne's Gray in there. Have some leftover water from an old flat water from a seltzer can. I'm just going to put a little on here. Again, I'm just trying to create a interesting image that I can use as the basis of a painting. So I'm drawing near the end of this painting. I think I like the way it looks. I do have a tendency to not leave good enough alone, but I like this. This kind of captures a little bit of how I'm feeling right now and what I'm trying to capture in my art. For this one, I think I'll do a quick sketch of a loon, or at least some of the wing shapes of a loon. They have this kind of So what I have in mind for this is kind of a loon shape that disappears and reappears into the background. Okay, maybe this time we'll start off with some black. Where is my black? Here it is. So I use, for a palette, I use old plastic containers. Kind of like this Aussie Bites organic muffins. All right, next watercolor paper. So this is the third painting today. So I'm just going to have to clean my acrylic brushes and get some fresh watercolor water, because well, maybe what I'll do actually, now that I think about it, is combine in this painting, I think I'll combine some watercolor this is watercolor that's been sitting around for a while. Whenever I do something like that, I remind myself that I paid $20 for this sheet of watercolor paper, and have I just ruined it? I won't know for a little while. Ooh. Talk about accidents, that just fell on my loon painting. That water ran onto my loon painting. Oh. Well, I don't think it hurt the loon painting. May have helped it. Okay, we'll have to see. It's a different shade of blue than what I put on here earlier. So this is the acrylic ink I'm putting into the wet watercolor. So what I'm trying to do now is look for the most interesting shapes in here and emphasize them. With this acrylic ink. Hi, so we're just going to wrap this up. I'm going to quickly show you the three paintings that I was working on earlier. I want to emphasize once again that, you know, there is value to exploring the images on the edges of your awareness as part of art journaling. Don't worry about whether or not they are great art or something anyone else might appreciate. Don't worry about technique or that's not what this is for. This is for your own personal private journal and self-exploration. And I tried to show you how I do that in my own journals today to give you an example or to emphasize the point that it's quick and rough. And I'm not going to judge these paintings for a couple of months because I'm too wrapped up and too close to them now. But I will publish them in the Creativity Journal or in the upcoming book on journaling, which is tools and techniques to keep an art journal. More on that in just a moment. But so here, without further ado, let's take a quick look at these three paintings that I did today. Oh, that's not what we want. Here we go. All right, so there was this one. Of the three, well, I'm not going to do that, but I do have two places I'm going to publish this, at least two. So as messy as it looks, and I admit it looks pretty messy, it is going to find a home. There's a place where it will work. There's at least two places where it's going to work really well. This is the clouds painting. This is, of course, the loon. Um, So before I get to today's post, which is about setting aside part of the day for reverie and imagination, a couple of quick notes. If you get something of value out of these posts, please subscribe. It's only $5 a month. And that will include a PDF of the upcoming book I mentioned a moment ago, using an art journal to probe deep. It'll take me about a month to get that finished, but when I get it done, you'll receive the PDF. Tuesday, I launch a quick starter. I'm publishing only 300 copies of the hardcover edition, first edition. Each will be signed and numbered of the book, Meditations on Beauty and Mystery, Gratitude Art Journal. You'll be able to buy it on through the Kickstarter or directly on my website, on the Heron Dance website. On the Kickstarter, there'll be a bunch of bonuses and incentives, signed limited edition prints, PDFs, signed and numbered copies of my last book. I think there's like 130 copies remaining. That book was entitled Nurturing the Song Within, and there's an accompanying diary planner. I think there's like 40 copies of that left. And it's kind of dated for the second quarter of the year, but not any particular year. After those hardcover versions or editions are sold out, I don't plan to print more. So I'll just do wire roll versions of future books in order to minimize inventory and focus on the creation of art rather than managing the supply chain. But anyway, thank you. We'll quickly now go through today's post. Future posts won't be as long. They won't probably have a video like the Frederick Back video, The Mighty River. They'll only have me doing one painting rather than three. And I'll try to keep them shorter. But this is the first one, and I just wanted to cover the different aspects of it in a complete manner. Thank you. So this is the end of this first YouTube video version of Creativity as a Way of Life. And I'm going to read today's post and talk very briefly about it. Because some subscribers have mentioned that an audio version would be easier to listen to while driving or by doing some other task that doesn't require their full attention. So I'm looking for ways to add value or paid subscribers as I launch this in a couple of days. Excuse me. I also wanted to do a Pause for Beauty YouTube video, and I will, but I doubt I'll get it done by tomorrow. I was supposed to get this done by 5 a.m. Thursday morning, and it just took me a while to learn how to use the software. But now that I know how to do it, it'll be a lot easier, but not so easy as to get a complete Pause for Beauty YouTube video complete in the next few hours. It's Saturday night, right, or Saturday afternoon at 4 right now. Anyway, this this first YouTube version and today's post includes a painting I did of Hawk Mountain in Pennsylvania, which this time of year you can sometimes see thousands of hawks in a day. They migrate along the hills there, taking advantage of the thermals that rise, the hot air that rises and allows them to migrate with the minimum of effort. It's a spectacular scene and well worth doing. I was at Hawk Mountain and this was 30 years ago, I think, or something like that. But I did this painting of based on a photograph I took of the sun just rising over distant hills. And since I'm focusing these days on abstract paintings, it qualifies. The text of this week's Creativity as a Way of Life Substack post has to do with the importance and role of imagination and setting aside time for reverie in a creative life. The first quote is from Van Gogh, from a letter he wrote to painter Emile Bernard in 1888. I sometimes regret that I can't decide to work more at home and from the imagination, said Van Gogh. Certainly, imagination is a capacity that must be developed and that enables us to create a more exciting and consoling nature than what just a glance at reality, which we perceive changing, passing quickly like lightning, allows us to perceive. The next, from a book by Anthony Storr, Solitude, A Return to the Self, in which he talks about Jung's encouragement to his patients that they set aside part of the day for what he called active imagination. This is a state of reverie in which judgment is suspended, but consciousness is preserved. The subject is required to note what fantasies occur to him, and then to let those fantasies pursue their own path without conscious intervention. In this way, the subject may be able to rediscover hidden parts of himself as well as portray the psychological journey on which he is embarking. And this is a practice that I've adopted myself. Before I roll out of bed in the morning, I like to lie there with my eyes closed for half an hour and just see what thoughts roll through my mind. I try to watch it as a bystander, as an impartial observer, and see where my mind wants to go and what it's focused on and what it's concerned about. I also walk for half an hour to an hour a day in the woods every day. Well, probably 59 days out of 60, for the same purpose. My mind wanders and I daydream and I just watch the flow of thoughts. Probably should be concentrating more on the beauty around me, but find walking in the woods inspires thought. So this next quote is from novelist and author, nonfiction as well as fiction author John Fowles. Perhaps his most notable book is The Magus. He also wrote The French Lieutenant's Woman. It is only innately mechanical salami factory novelists who set aside such great store by research. In 9 cases out of 10, what natural knowledge and imagination cannot supply is what precisely needs to be left out. I don't agree 100% with Fowles that research in fiction has no value. Fiction based on in-depth research is often interesting and valid as creative work. But I agree with Fowles that the most valuable, interesting, creative work arises somehow out of our imagination. Some of Fowles' best work arose out of his experiences in research, but his truly transcendent work came from his imagination. I think that if I didn't do Heron Dance and I had enough money, I'd probably spend most of the day reading novels and walking in the woods. Next quote, Wallace Stevens, imagination, we have it because we don't have enough without it. Without imagination, these are my words, not his, but without imagination, humanity really doesn't amount to much. Finally, a quote from Denise Shekarjian, author of Uncommon Genius, which was based on interviews of recipients of MacArthur Genius Awards. She wrote, a creative person is one who enjoys, above all else, the company of his own mind. The company of his own mind. That ability to reach, these are my words now, that ability to retreat into our own mind, our own reality, and to fiercely protect that time is part of what can make us as creatives unreasonable and difficult to live with. We retreat into our own minds, we focus on our work, we protect both time for work and time for daydreaming, sometimes with a ferocity that others don't understand. And with that, if you've made it all this way, thank you, Heron Dance readers and supporters, for making this work possible.